People who fix bad tattoos. What is the funniest, worst story of a bad tattoo? Removed some terrible ones in my time. The worst was an entire back piece of swastikas and hanging black men from trees. Lots of hate all over. He booked over the phone. I sound like an average British white, which I'm not. When he came in, shoulda seen the look on his face. He had to apologize like a million times and say his disclaimer for almost half an hour before letting me see it. Another was Chinese kanji for stupid lesbian on a lady's neck. I had a patient who somewhat stiffly and formally asked if he could talk to the people doing his operation right before having surgery. I think his pre-op nurse was in on it because she was able to grab us all. When we were assembled, he addressed us. I am 43 years old, but when I was 18 I was a lost and stupid person. I got tattoos that reflect a hateful ideology. I am not that person. I want to apologize to you. Got what you will surely soon see. I'm sorry. Please don't hate me. It was so heartfelt and sad. We would have given him the same 200% effort we gave anyone in our OR, but it was wonderful to hear what he had to say to us. Otherwise we would have been sort of shit. How many swastika tattoos does this MF have? And moved on. Well, he's getting it fixed, which means he's changing his ways. Not an artist here, but an old buddy of mine was going through a really religious phase and wanted the word Jesus tattooed on him in Hebrew characters. So he used the internet to translate and copied the word, printed it and got it tattooed. Unfortunately, he copied the word Hebrew in the Hebrew characters instead of the word Jesus. We still bring it up every so often. I have a few friends who might get that tattoo intentionally. I would even consider it myself. Hey, what's your tattoo mean? Quote, it's Hebrew. Yeah, but what does it mean in Hebrew? Quote, the tattoo is Hebrew, but, like, what's the meaning behind it? Quote, Hebrew. Yeah, but what does it mean in Hebrew? Quote, yes. My grandpa, may he rest in peace, named his dog Paul. That's a Spanish word that in this case it roughly translates to, which one? It's still fun to introduce him to new people. Ah, cute doggy. What's his name? Quote, which one? That dog. What's his name? Quote, which one? This dog right here. How do you call it? Which one? Love you, Grandpa. Hope you still laugh at it. Less than 3. I love this. Loudly crying, loudly crying. I had a client who was walking somewhere and a man in a van rolled up. The van guy rolled down the window and asked if he wanted cheap tattoo removal. My client shouted, hell yes, and climbed eagerly into the back of the van. The guy had a tattoo laser in the back of the van. My client removed his shirt and asked the guy to zap an unfortunate Jesus crucifix he got tattooed in someone's basement as a teenager. The tattoo took up his entire back. The van guy started zapping the tattoo when my client sees an amber plastic shield fall off of the laser. This is a shield that prevents the laser from burning the skin. He becomes concerned and asks the van guy, hey, what's that thing that fell off? The guy replies, if it fell off, it must not be important. And he continues zapping the shit out of wonky Jesus. My client pays him $20 and jumps out of the van, stoked on his good fortune. By time he gets home, the back of his shirt is soaked with fluid. He pulls off the shirt and his skin is bubbling, blistering, and quite literally fried. About a year later, he booked me to fix up his back tattoo. He tells me the back alley laser story and then takes his shirt off. Tattoo Jesus is battered but still there staring back at me. His skin looks like lumpy hamburger meat. I've seen a lot of skin in my time and let me tell you, the scar tissue is unreal. We ended up tattooing a Japanese dragon over the whole thing. Tattoos do a good job of camouflaging scar tissue. So he left a happy camper. I feel the need to throw out the obligatory mom lecture. Everything about tattooing is expensive. If you are a cheap mofo, expect to spend 10 times the amount of money fixing your poor life decisions. Why on earth would you actually climb into a stranger's van for a tattoo removal? Just why? Why? And how many people are agreeing to this that buddy thinks he has a shot at a rolling tattoo removal business here? I'm just confused by the economics of roving tattoo removal vans. Are there so many people who are ready to have their ink zapped that you can just drive it around town and holler for customers? Do they have a schedule? Do they play a recognizable tune so the neighborhood kids can run out and get lasered? I have a friend who, shortly after high school, got a tramp stamp that said, "Ride 'em cowboy." It fit her life at the time. Now, 20 or so years later, she's married with a family, and has since had it covered up with a sprawling full-color nature scene with symbolism representing her kids. It's not what I would have chosen, but she likes it, not to mention that her husband views it as a huge improvement over the original. So my opinion doesn't really matter. Better than knock 3 times before entering tramp stamp. I don't fix tattoos, nor do I personally have a bad one. But one of my good friend's wife was stationed in Germany, so they moved there. One of the first nights there, my buddy got hammered and wandered into a tattoo parlor. Basically just told the guy to give him whatever. Ended up being a giant naked woman with her hands tied behind her back and a dunce cap on. Oh God, out of all the things they could have done, why that? Yes. Why didn't they tattoo him a penis on his forehead like anyone else would? No, they needed to do something special. Story time. I was in the shop shooting the shit and looking through the books, while my buddy was in the chair getting some new ink. Young couple walks in. They're maybe 19 to 20 years old and pawing each other to the point that I thought they were going to fall down and have sex right there on the floor. Girl says we need matching Bobby and Becky forever tattoos with hearts and flowers. Quote, artist. Also if friend. Doesn't even look up. No. Go away. You been together what? 1 month? 2? Come back in 5 years. The girl argued for about a minute and then they left. Artist. I hate doing cover-ups of my own work. Honestly, good on him telling them to fuck off. If you want bad tattoos, watch Just Tattoo of Us on UKMTV. People design fucked up tattoos for each other and they can't see it until it's done. You know, this could have been a wholesome show where people choose tattoos which are nice tokens of love for each other. But humankind. There's a clip of 2 girls who are best friends going on the show and they both choose tattoos, declaring their love for each other and then become girlfriends. Heart. The producers of the show probably get tons of nice applicants but don't choose them because it wouldn't be nearly as entertaining. MTV US has How Far Is Tattoo Far, with the same premise. One girl tattooed a hamster shitting blood on her fiancé. A guy from high school had No Regrets tattooed to his forearm this year, then had it removed. Should have kept the word regrets. I live in Los Angeles. I know there's one shop that will cover up any gang tattoos and even laser removes gang tattoos for free. Not a tattoo artist, but right. I want to share my story, but it would certainly start with those words. Thanks for keeping me accountable. Not someone who fixes bad tattoo. But a while back my Asian mate thought it was a genius idea to get Made in China tattooed on his chest. Yeah, it's fixed now. That guy is a stable genius if I ever heard of one. I personally don't have any tattoos, but an old friend decided to get his first tattoo. Spent a few weeks drawing this dragon out. Took it to the tattooist who said that will not fit on his arm. So he picked one off the display of a skeleton with a side. Only thing is the skeleton has 5 fingers and a thumb on one hand. He got stick for a year for that one. Another one is a work colleague decided to get a tattoo and for some reason picked to have a pair of hand in prayer holding some rosemary beads. He's not even vaguely religious, let alone Catholic, and hasn't been to a church at all as far as I know. His reasoning was it looked cool. Basic translation: I saw it in a movie. Quote, and didn't even realize the religious connotations. Think you mean rosary beads. Lol, I had to go back and reread it. I totally read rosary beads the first time. There was a show, Tattoo Nightmares, where a woman overlaid good tattoos to mask really bad ones. Another one with a guy. Bad ink. Good watching. I loved the work done on Tattoo Nightmares. Those artists are legit. The problem with the show is they over-dramatized everything so badly. The ridiculous reenactments were so cringy. I would have rather seen more of the design process to see how they designed the new tattoo. Oh man, I finally found my thread. Okay, so I am a tattoo artist in California, and there are a lot of people in LA who get drunk and come in for a tattoo, and I always say no and tell them to come back the next day if they still want it, but not all places are like that. So the worst one was when a 20-year-old guy comes in with his girlfriend trying frantically to not go through with this and everything, and when I see the tattoo I was floored. It was her name tattooed on his dick. While I was removing it we start talking. His GF had left for a coffee and she told him to think about it, but he immediately told me to remove it once she was gone. And apparently she also was a tattoo artist, and they were at the parlor where she worked at, and they got drunk and he agreed to get the tattoo, which she had been trying to convince him to get for a while, and I guess he was way too drunk, but he got it. Now when his girl came back it was almost gone, and she freaked out saying she didn't think he would do it, and she went to go get a tattoo of his name on her wrist, so she lied and said she was getting coffee. She thought that was going to convince him to keep it, and how that was a sign of their love, and a whole bunch of BS. But he came back with, would a person who loved me get me drunk and tattoo my dick? And that shattered her because she knew she was taking advantage of him that night, so he said we will talk at my place. I don't know what happened, but he later came in for more ink a few more times without her, so I DK. But yeah, he got a tattoo removed, and I got a story and a friend, so that is my story. Sorry about it being so long. TLDR. Guy gets tattoo on dick when drunk by GF. They get into fight, she tattoos his name on her and they break up. I'm letting my roommate tattoo me right now, and I hope this isn't an omen. Username checks out. This was from a Quebec TV show, so I have to put you in context. Caroline was a fairly common female name in North America back then. Also, in French we call the two Carolina U.S. states Caroline. Caroline du Nord, Sud for North, South Carolina. So in this show, there's this guy having a very unsuccessful love life. On a specific episode, he found a new girlfriend. He went to get a tattoo with her name on it, but then told the guy, oh, I'm in deep shit if she sees this tattoo, which said, J'aime Caroline. I love Caroline in French. Tattoo guy told him he'd change it for, J'aime la Caroline du Nord. I love North Carolina. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.